Welcome to the Deep Dive. I am your host, and I'm really glad you're here with us.
And I'm your resident expert, ready to jump right in.
Yeah, so if you are someone who loves really clever problem solving, or maybe you just have a deep appreciation for tech nostalgia, today's journey is going to perfectly scratch that itch for you.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great one.
We are pulling from a single, delightfully geeky source today. It's a fascinating blog post from February 26, 2026, over on qianmeng.org.
Right, qianmeng.org.
Yep. The blog belongs to Eng, who proudly describes himself as an old software plumber.
Which is just the perfect title for what we're about to discuss.
It really is. So the mission for our deep dive today is to explore his brilliant, really modern workaround for an age-old computing headache.
The headache of figuring out what is actually inside the hardware you just thought.
Exactly. And Eng pulls this off using a completely unlikely combination of proprietary Windows files, a legacy Linux command, and artificial intelligence. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's quite the mix.
It is. And to really get it, we need to look at the backstory Eng shares. He takes us back to the pre-plug-and-play era.
Oh man, the dark ages of hardware configuration.
Right. He shares this nostalgic anecdote about literally skipping school and staying up all night, just desperately trying to get his Linux kernel to recognize a sound card.
I mean, we've all been there in some form, right? Sitting to the glow of a CRT monitor at 3 in the morning.
Totally. And the way he describes it, he was constantly recompiling the kernel over and over again.
Changing one tiny parameter, waiting for it to compile, rebooting, and nothing, no sound.
Yeah, and that brings us to the crucial aha moment he had that night. The sound card was aggressively branded on the box as Cirrus Logic.
Right.
But after tearing his hair out, he finally figured out that the actual underlying chipset, the actual silicon doing the work, was manufactured by Yamaha.
And that detail is everything.
Yeah.
Because driver selection, the code that actually makes the hardware talk to the operating system, had to be based on the chipset brand and model.
Not the brand printed on the cardboard box.
Exactly. Not the box's brand. It perfectly illustrates the massive disconnect between consumer marketing and actual engineering. What's fascinating here is that this exact same problem, this issue of hidden chipsets, still exists decades later.
It hasn't gone away at all.
Not even a little.
Yeah.
The labels change, but the supply chain obfuscation is just as bad, if not worse.
Which brings us right back to the modern dilemma in 2026. Eng isn't fighting with sound cards anymore. Now he's researching PCIe Wi-Fi 7 adapters.
Moving up in the world.
Yeah, Wi-Fi 7. And his goal is very specific. He wants an adapter that supports GNU Linux right out of the box.
Which means no manual driver installation.
Yeah.
No hunting down random code repositories.
Right. Ideally, the kernel just recognizes it immediately. And online rumors are suggesting that a specific brand uses the MediaTek MT7925 chipset.
Ah, the MT7925. That's a great target because it has solid support built directly into the Linux kernel, specifically starting from version 6.7 and up.
But here is the problem. You can't just trust online claims before making a purchase.
Definitely not. You need actual proof of what's inside the hardware.
Yeah, because of silent hardware revisions. It's like, okay, think of it like trying to figure out the secret recipe of a dish at a restaurant, right?
Okay, like this.
But you're not allowed in the kitchen. And worse, the chef might change the ingredients on a Tuesday without updating the menu just because a different spice was cheaper that week.
That is a perfect analogy. You order the exact same item off the menu, but what ends up on your plate is chemically different. In the hardware world, a manufacturer will sell version 1.0 with the MediaTek chip and then quietly swap to a completely different chip for version 1.1, all under the exact same retail name.
So trusting a forum post from 3 months ago is basically useless. You need a way to verify the ingredients before you buy the dish.
And that is where Eng gets incredibly resourceful.
Yes. This is the clever hack. To figure out if this hardware works for Linux, Eng does something completely ironic. He downloads the Windows driver for the brand and model he's looking at.
A diehard Linux user downloading a proprietary Windows file. It's brilliant.
It really is. So here is the step-by-step of what he actually does. He downloads the file, unzips it, and he starts digging around inside.
Looking for the paper trail.
Exactly. He is looking for the Windows setup information file, which is known as the .inf file.
The .inf file is basically a mandatory declaration to Microsoft about what the hardware actually is.
Right, but extracting the data isn't just double-clicking a text file.
No, it is not. And this is the next technical hurdle. Often, these files are bundled up in a way that makes them look like a messy binary blob to a regular text editor. It just looks like absolute gibberish.
So how does he read it?
He uses a specific Linux command called strings.
Strings.
Yeah, it's a classic utility. What the strings command does is it extracts readable text,
Yeah.
literally the strings of text, out of that messy binary blob.
Oh.
It ignores all the machine code garbage and just pulls out the human readable characters.
That is so smart.
It really is. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to appreciate the ingenuity of cross-pollinating operating system tools here.
Using a Windows driver to verify a Linux purchase.
Yes, and using a legacy Unix command to strip the data out of that Windows driver. It's just a beautiful piece of hacker judo.
But even after he runs the strings command, he just gets this massive raw list of internal manufacturer models and hardware IDs, right? It's not exactly plain English yet.
Right, it's a dense list of technical identifiers, vendor IDs, device IDs, still pretty cryptic.
So enter the AI. This is the final step in decoding the matrix.
And this is where the timeline really accelerates.
Aang takes that huge, raw, extracted list of models from the .in file, and he just pastes the whole thing into an AI tool.
Just dumps the raw text right in.
Yep, and his prompt is simple. He asks the AI to evaluate the extracted information, to find details about the manufacturer, and the exact chipset used.
He essentially uses the AI as a universal translator for sysadmin logs.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Based on his own analysis, combined with the evidence gathered by the AI, it comes back with a highly confident answer.
And what was the verdict?
It was highly likely that the adapter was indeed built on the desired MediaTek MT7925 chipset.
Incredible. He solved the mystery without spending a single dollar or opening a single box.
I just love the contrast here. Think about his timeline.
Oh, the contrast is staggering. As a kid, he is staying up all night, physically exhausted, recompiling kernels through pure trial and error just to get a sound card to beep.
And today, he seamlessly uses a command line tool from the 1980s and a modern AI assistant to instantly diagnose a piece of hardware's DNA before even buying it. The friction is just gone. it is a totally different world, but the mindset is exactly the same.
Absolutely, the hacker mindset.
Which actually leads us perfectly into the mind of the tinkerer himself. I want to shift focus slightly and look at the world of Qianmeng, the blog itself.
It is a fascinating place to dig around.
It really is, because this single post about the Wi-Fi adapter is just a tiny window into an incredibly prolific and curious mind.
Prolific is almost an understatement.
Seriously. I was looking at the sidebars on his site, and the sheer volume of writing is astonishing. I have to read some of these statistics to you to give you a sense of scale.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so he has over 800 posts on gardening alone.
800.
Yes, and they are specific, like why your variegated plant is reverting, and detailed logs on propagating Brazilian spinach.
His deep subject matter expertise.
And that's not all. There are over 200 posts on fish keeping, topics like, will guppies eat algae?
Just casually maintaining a massive database on aquarium ecosystems.
Exactly. And then right next to that, you have 70 posts dedicated solely to Haskell programming.
Right, the purely functional programming language, of course. And he also dabbles heavily in Elixir and Erlang, Python, Geonome, app development, not to mention meditation and photography.
It's just this sprawling library of seemingly unrelated topics.
But they aren't unrelated to him. This reflects a core philosophy of the free Libre and open source software community, the flawless community. It is this relentless cross-disciplinary curiosity.
That makes a lot of sense.
This raises an important question, though. How often do we silo our own interests? We tell ourselves we are tech people or plant people. But a software plumber like Aang approaches gardening, fish keeping, and networking with the exact same analytical, troubleshooting mindset.
Oh, I see what you mean. The methodology doesn't change, just the subject matter.
Exactly. Figuring out why a plant leads are reverting is the same logic puzzle as figuring out why a Wi-Fi module isn't loading. You isolate the variables, check the inputs, and test a solution.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think the big takeaway is that the tools we use are always going to change. We go from flipping through dense physical manuals to chatting with AI assistants. But the core hacker mindset, that fundamental desire to understand how things work underneath the surface, that remains a constant.
It is the driving force behind all real innovation and understanding.
It really is. Which makes the ending of Aang's blog post so wonderfully anticlimactic.
I loved the ending.
After doing all this high-level detective work, extracting the binary strings, using the AI to confirm the MediaTek chipset, he finally has the answer he wanted.
The definitive proof.
Right. And then he simply asks his readers, so the question remains, Should we take the plunge and buy it?
And his answer?
Just one word. Maybe.
Huh. Maybe. That is the most authentic engineer answer possible.
I know. I had a good laugh at that. He did all that work just to arrive at maybe.
Because he knows that even with the right chipset, there could be a weird firmware bug or a poorly seated antenna. Hardware is messy.
It is definitely messy, but it's also incredibly fascinating.
It is. And before we wrap up, I want you to think about the devices around you right now.
The phones, the routers, the smart TVs.
Exactly. We interact with these brands every single day, but we rarely know the actual ingredients inside them. We are completely removed from the supply chain reality.
Just trusting the label on the box.
Right. But if AI can now be used to easily translate technical code and binary blobs into plain English, what other hidden layers of our digital world are suddenly going to become visible to everyday users?
That is a very profound thought to leave on. The walls are kind of coming down if we know what tools to use.
The digital kitchen is opening up.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring the mind of an old software plumber as much as we did.
It was a great ride.
It was. Keep looking past the labels, and as always, stay curious.